request. The letter dealt with the recent survey results regarding the fire department and a question about the recent vote. Note, the clerk clarified that while the votes in the last newsletter didn't look like they didn't add up, they were not voted twice. The number of voters was taken from the number of people who were registered that day and did not include the number of absentee votes in the total, as we do not have receipts from them as they are turned in for ballot at the time of voting. Review of bills. Jeff Blix moved to pay vouchers $60.99 through $61.10 in the amount of $6,615.53. Harold Biskey seconded and the motion passed. Reports. Written reports from the clerk and fire chief were read and are filed as attachments to these minutes. Reported that many calls were coming in based on the upcoming Board of Appeals. All the end-of-year reporting had been done and the year officially closed out. The oath has been administered to the elected officials. The fire department responded to 2 medical calls. They trained on how to handle emergencies around horses and mutual aid protocols. A total of 11 members are in the first responder courses and 7 attended a live fire structure training. Our engine and portable pump were used during the training. The department sent one engine, 2 firefighters, and some of our water/ice rescue equipment to help in the Red River flood area. Jeff Blix and Greg Kineski met with the residents of Fredenberg Lake Road. They also noticed a stop sign was down in the area and the county had been apprised of the situation. They also looked at Wood Duck Lane. Nothing for law enforcement. The gate at the cemetery is open, although there is still snow in the area. Parks and Rec, Dave Helsvig is not here, but the clerk reported the sold advertising space for the ball field. Details will be available next month. Julie has gotten quotes on the basement storage area. Greg Kineski said he had spoken with Dennis Hansen and Ben Pearson. They had looked over the area. Discussion was tabled until new business. The recycling center is doing fine. Harold Biskey stated that he had gotten some good information on both the cemetery and roads at the recent short course. For old business, item A, quotes for fire hall. 3 bids were received, only 2 had dollar amounts attached. The money being proposed is much higher than the board had expected and much discussion ensued. The question was asked about where the money would be coming from and what happens if there is no stimulus grant forthcoming. The money at this time will be coming out of the general fund. If the grant is awarded, that money will be returning to the fund. If not, that money will be absorbed as part of the township costs for the next few years. The actual building of a new hall at that time would then come back before the township in a series of public meetings or the annual town meeting. Find out if we move forward or not. Building plans would still be required for the future. The actual cost of the building might be more expensive in the future, but the structural plans would still be viable and ready for use. In the end, the board voted to award Stanius and Johnson Architecture the contract on a vote of 3-4 and 1 abstention, with the request that the contract stipulate a breakdown of the costs involved. For the website, item B, Matt Wolf spoke about his plans, which include email batch mailing as a possibility, township logo, and a polling place, as well as club links. He is also looking for pictures of the area. Please, no pictures or advertising included. Sledding hill lights, item C. Julie asked that she be given the okay to get the lights installed. It was brought up that at the last meeting, Jim Martindale talked about getting a group together to work on the hill. Julie stated that she had talked with him after the meeting, that her source said that grants are never given out in the first go-around. It could possibly take 2 to 3 years for any grant money. After she gets the check for the money for the light, she will turn over the money from the auction. Item D, Code of Ethics. Item was tabled. We'll ask for comments from the public and contact the attorney to make sure it looks right. Item E, Wood Duck Lane. The reading of the amendment to the original resolution was read to extend the road order to include an additional 1,813.5 feet to signs just past West Island Lake Road. After some discussion about permits and whether the road was currently up to code, the resolution was passed unanimously. Item F, resolution regarding audio videotaping. Mary Larson reported that she had spoken with Commissioner Nelson, who gave some guidelines developing a policy regarding videotaping. She stated that anyone entitled to audio videotape any public meetings. The township also has the township also has the right to develop a policy outlining how and where that taping takes place. She also stated that if taping were to be done, it was probably better to be done by the township and make it part of the public record, and everything should be looked at by an attorney. The committee has several avenues they still wish to pursue and requested the item be tabled for 60 days and come back with their findings at this time. Item was tabled until that time. New business, item A, quotes for mowing, road work, and assessor. The clerk will publish ads in the Duluth News Tribune for these three positions. She asked if the board wanted a 1-year, 4-year pricing, or both contract with the assessor. They would like quotes for both. Item B, community ed insurance. Anita Anderson asked for clarification on whether instructors are actually covered under the township insurance. Kyle Sweeple volunteered to look over the current policy, and the clerk mentioned she was looking at the MAT policy for our insurance needs. There's a typo there. We'll let them, Anita, know what is found out. Another typo. Item C, basement storage area. Greg Kineski, Ben Pearson, and Dennis Hansen have looked at the situation and formulated a plan to fix the problem. This would not involve digging down, but more of the building blacktop up away from the areas where the water comes in, installing flashing as needed. Greg mentioned that he was willing to donate his time, but of course there would be a material cost. There's also a problem with the back stairwell. It can be looked at once the problem is fixed. Julie asked about guarantees and bonding of the work. A written bid was requested for the next meeting. Jeff thanked Dennis, Ben, and Greg for their request, or for their interest in work. Adjournment. With no further business, the board was reminded of future meetings, and the meeting was adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Submitted by Sherry, your clerk.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Dave.
What was discussed on the new business for the quotes for the mowing, road work, and the assessor? What was decided about the assessor? Has anybody brought up to the fact that maybe we should just have the county take care of that by themselves? Is it really cost that much more than $1 figure?
That was still out in the open anyway, because we don't have any bids in front of us for that.
Has anybody ever took the figure from the county and on with the assessor to see how much big the difference was?
For last year, it was $300 to $400 more.
They had the county do it?
Yes.
And is that including our salaries and our time and everything else in your time?
Our time isn't cut. All we're looking at is what the assessor, and I'm sorry, it was actually $3,000 to $4,000.
Oh, $3,000 to $4,000.
So,
okay.
The money that we're getting from there, and I know that Jan normally has a competitive bid down more. It was $13,250, I think, or $275. It was 16 something from the county. Is what they told me. That was for last year. But as I said, the contract should have been up in May. I did not receive one at this time, so it may be that it runs to the end of May. We'll receive it the next meeting. I did not receive anything from anybody else. I did not receive any interest in anybody else either.
Anyways, here.
Say that she's usually between 15 and 20% lower than those plan before the last meeting.
I make a motion we accept the minutes from last month's meeting.
I've got a couple of changes.
Let's get a second before we go to amend. Is there a second?